Can we talk about grades and grading today? I just submitted midterm grades for a Chicago area university, teaching 2 classes, about 50 students, and it is obvious that we just don't understand what grades are for, why a good grade matters, why a bad grade doesn't hurt as much as we think, and what to do about it, how to figure it out.
You are better than the rest of us. If no one told you yet you're a genius and an artist, let me be the first.
Okay, I don't know if you can say that. Because I think it's subjective, man. I mean, we all have something to offer.
I had one student express concern. They said, if I don't get a B in this course, I'll never get into grad school. Right after that, another student came up and said, I'm so surprised I'm getting a B in this course. I didn't expect that. Hey, and let's admit it, we don't understand grading today. Teachers are horrible at communicating the criteria for grades. Yes, we give percentages, but there's a mysterious, unknown quality about making them happy that really messes with kids' minds. And the other thing about grading is that we don't understand what their real reason is. What's the purpose of a grade and how they function in higher education and how they mean absolutely nothing outside of higher education. So, can we talk about grading? Hi, I'm James Callahan, college professor, father to 5 children who've all navigated higher education successfully, and someone who struggled and failed in education years ago and found a way to make it work. And that's what the Do-Over Show is about, learning how to avoid failure and find success at least the second time. There's a saying that goes something like this: A students work for the B students, and the B students work for the C students. What that means is, in the real world, outside of the grading structure of education, most of what we work for, struggle for, obsess about, getting that ideal grade in education, doesn't matter in the real world. It doesn't translate to the skills necessary to become a boss, to become wealthy, to become successful.
Turn to page 394.
That is, the skills and discipline that it takes to get consistent A's in education are not the skills and abilities and disciplines it takes to be successful in life. So, what are grades good for? Well, they're one way, not the best way, but they're pretty much the only way we use to evaluate success in education and hopefully project some measure of success in life. They're used to evaluate and rank performance in the specific tasks of an education setting. But they're not part of the real world. You don't get an A, B, C, D, or F from a boss. You either get promoted,
emotional damage,
or shown the exit. That is, the real world might be much more like a pass-fail course than we think.
Forrest Gump.
Now, can you believe it? After only 5 years of playing football, I got a college degree.
Congratulations, son.
But grades aren't how we'll have to function in everyday life for the rest of our life, in our relationships, in our work. They're just not real. Let me give you an example. You will never be given a pop quiz by your boss, at least not by a good boss. That is, you'll always have time to prepare and work through things. But the binge and purge, eating disorder-like approach to testing where we cram the night before and we vomit it up in a bulimic attempt to pass a course, that doesn't happen in the real world, or at least it shouldn't. Hey, and you got to admit, some of us are test phobic. We panic at just the thought of tests and quizzes, while others, and there are some of you out there that actually enjoy tests, enjoy quizzes. You're good at them. Those who are better at tests usually learn the ins and outs of course management and textbooks and assignments, and they're highly functional in these tasks. But most don't approach education this way, don't approach life this way. And that means that's the correlation. That's where the struggle comes from. Part of it is that we just don't know how to understand what education is for and how to successfully accomplish it. After all, the goal of being in higher ed is not just for the experience of the course, although that is a benefit. It's to get through the coursework, finish your major, check off the boxes on the requirement, and get out alive. That is, most of us don't even know how to read a simple book, a textbook especially, and how to use it. It's like it takes control of us rather than our using it as a tool to benefit us, to learn from, to reach that goal of successfully completing a course in which that stupid 6,000-page textbook that costs $400 has been assigned to us. And if you want to learn how to read that textbook, even the 6,000-page, $600 textbook that you've been assigned for a course, then I've done a video about how to learn to read a book, how to read a book, and you can check it out here. Now, figuring out what a good grade is in our education and how it's just one, not the only, but just one component of what a successful education involves, that's where the struggle is. Grades really measure how we manage a teacher's expectations. But if the teachers are jerks and power-hungry, adversarial types who know it all and we're empty vessels into which they pour their vast stores of knowledge, then they're dinosaurs, or they were taught by dinosaurs and should know better. A grade of a B or a C in STEM courses are considered strong grades, but an A and B in humanities tends to be the default, and anything less than that, and we think that somehow we're just not meant to read poetry. Then there's a struggle of grade inflation or deflation that we've got to worry about. It's like saying that a C at Harvard is equal to an A at a community college. And then there are the idiosyncrasies of teachers, where you have the same course in multiple sections, where one prof gives you an A, and for the same work you get a B or a C in another section of that course. And then there are some dinosaurs that still use the bell curve, still grade on a curve with a common distribution, because that's all that they've known in their education. By the way, those are the ones you need to avoid.
Those of you who are graduating this afternoon with high honors, awards, and distinctions, I say well done. And as I like to tell the C students, you too can be president.
But remember, in most programs, C's get degrees. And that's what you're really in school for. To do the coursework, to check the boxes, to get yourself out of that with a degree in hand and survive it. It proves you can do something hard, fill in all the requirements, and you're the kind of person who can do something hard and finish it that people want to hire. But this kind of grading system, going through all of the measures to get us to that point, it's just one artificial measure of how we're able to accomplish a task. And accomplishing a task is the more important goal of education. There's this one course I took in my college career which I thought I'd absolutely love, and I took it from just the most wonderful person. The teacher was just a really nice person, but he was the worst teacher in the history of the world. And being nice didn't make up for the horrible classroom skills and the mysterious, magical, selective assignment of grading levels by this really nice teacher. Everything we did was fill in the blank, multiple choice, names, dates, places, and there was a quiz in each and every class meeting 3 times a week for an entire semester, plus 4, or maybe it was 5 exams. I don't remember. It was overwhelming how much information was supposed to be crammed into and then vomited back up on these quizzes and tests every single class meeting. There was no discussion, no interaction, no opportunity to actually learn from your mistakes, because all we got on the graded quizzes and tests was that red X mark on it, but not the right answer. We had to go and figure that one out for ourselves. But the teacher promised us on day 1 of the class that if we showed up every day, that if we kept up on the reading, if we turned in all the assignments on time, and we took all the quizzes and tests, that we would not get an F in the course. A D- was the worst we could do in the course. I got a D-. That was in a college career. When I finished, I had a GPA of about 3.95. Yeah, with a D- rolled in for good measure. And by the way, I've actually spent my life and career studying and working in that field. It didn't deter me. Actually, it kind of put a chip on my shoulder. So what are grades for? Well, it's a way of evaluating how difficult it's going to be to do the things that we want to do. Grades evaluate our level of work and success in this or that course or course of study. We try different courses, subjects, tracks to see if we can perform in the artificial context of this or that major. And you know someone that can do the work it takes us 10 hours to do, they can do it in an hour or less. That doesn't tell you that they're going to be excellent in that field. It just tells you that they can handle, or we're going to struggle with that work. It doesn't mean that we don't pick that, we don't pursue it. It just means that if we do pursue that course of study or those kind of courses or that major, that we're going to have to work harder to get to something that we want. It gives us a good, healthy gauge of how much work we're going to have to put into a major. Now, that means that some of us, because of grading, because of the misuse of grading, will pick fields of study and majors that are easy for us, but really present no challenge or present no lifelong opportunity for growth. But we took it because it was the easy road. And that's the downside of what easy grading can do. We may still say it's worth it, But don't expect that our calling in life makes grading or classes easy, or you earn A's just because you've always wanted to do that, always dreamed of that from the time that you were just a little kid. So if we take a course or study a field that we get C's in consistently, it doesn't mean that we are horrible and that there's not a great future in that for us. It just means that, well, in the ins and outs of higher education with that grading, that we're going to have to work hard to maintain that meets expectations goal. So what is wrong with that C grade, with that meets expectations goal? Well, for some of us, it means that we're going to struggle to get into a grad school, if a grad school is what we're trying to get into. If you want to go to grad school, consistently lower grades in your fields may raise an eyebrow. But take it from me, someone who served on grad admissions committees at several universities, grades and your grades, even in your field, are not the only thing. We want to know if you're going to be a good human being and if you're going to benefit, and we're going to benefit from having you in this course of study. It's your value add and your life capacity, your experience, your ability to engage with a difficult topic that will add to a program and will get you accepted into a grad program, not just straight A's. Hey, we've bounced people with straight A's from programs because they took it too lightly, or they weren't going to add anything, or they were good at tests, obviously, but they were horrible human beings. And we said, no, we don't need another horrible human being in the program. We've got enough. And there's another component to that meets expectations C-level grades that becomes a problem for us, and that is that most of us were raised in the idea that meets expectations is actually disappointing or even a failure. And for some of us, grades seem a little too judgy or judgmental, and we don't even like the idea of being evaluated. I'm sorry, but you are going to be evaluated by everyone throughout the course of your life, and they're going to need to see whether or not you're worth sharing their life with you. And if you're afraid of getting a grade that doesn't measure up, or being challenged in a way that says, hey, this is a part of your life that needs to improve or can improve if you want this in life, well, then a grade is a great tip-off. That's the Kickstarter. That gets you started. If you're that kind of person, then grades can actually be a stimulant to your life and development and growth. But if that puts you off, and if you feel like, oh, I'm just being judged, well, then you're not up for much of a challenge. And life for you is going to be a little difficult. That is, grades do not measure good intentions. Grades don't measure whether or not you're a good human being. Grades are a tool. They're not the only tool, but they're just a component. And how we respond to grades and grading in higher education, that's going to be a good indication of how we respond to life and its challenges in work and family, in all of those things that we want in our life. Grades are a tell, just one, but they're a little tell. But if we live in the glory days of higher education and we say, but I was a straight A student, why am I failing in life? Well, that's because we probably misunderstood what those A's meant. They give us a chance to grow. So, are you giving your grades a chance to tell you something? Do they communicate something to you? Do you learn something from the grades that you get? And you've tried all the tricks, taking notes, studying, reading, office hours. You've worked on your comprehension, you've gotten tutoring, and you've tried every hack out there. The one thing you haven't tried is to reevaluate the status and the importance of grading. Why? Because education is not going to change. Your teachers are not going to change. You're the one that's going to have to change your expectations if you are going to get the most out of your education. That change in our expectations will save us from missing out on one of the most important components of what education can provide, and it is a chance to explore and learn, to discover things that will excite us and motivate us, things that capture our attention and hold us, get us to focus on things in unique and intense ways, the kind of intensity that breeds not only an expertise in a field, but an ability to engage in life and significant and important things with a seriousness and an enjoyment at the same time. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. I really hope this has helped you. And please, could you tap the like button? And while you're down there, consider subscribing and ringing the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.